I am having fun with this. So, I want to have my YouTube channel, right? This is the selfish reason to share my life lessons, blessings. Again, definitely the blessings, the wins, the losses, right? And also share this information with my children and my children's children and the grandkids and the great grandkids and the family members that I will not get a chance to see, but they'll get to hear my stories, my struggles from me, right? And they'll know what type of legacy that they came from. Because please know, I'm building an empire that will not stop with me. So, in some shape or form, they gonna know that I contributed to their lives. They probably gonna read about me in the books too, but they also get to see me and hear me and know that this was done out of love and pain, because I had to go through some things to be fed up enough to know that I got to change my life. And by changing my life, it's a trickling effect that it changes every life around me, close to me. It's a domino effect that it's going to ripple, right? It's a rippling effect that by me changing and doing things differently and suffering and the hurt and the pain that I had to endure to get to where I am, and I ain't saying it was easy, but it was rewarding. I did it to make a pathway that other people get to do it too. And now I can share that information. I did it. And what worked for me might not work for another person, but the principles that I live by, principles are universal, right? So that won't change. The way you apply the principle might be a little different, but it doesn't change the information. And most people don't know it or they're not willing to share it. So now I'm going to have a platform that I get to share the information. I get to ask other people to share their stories and their information, because I don't want it to be me helping only the people in my immediate circle. I want to help whoever needs the help. I want to help the person that I was 20 years ago, right? If I want to be that person that when I was trying to figure it out and investigate and learn me and learn what to do, how to change my life, how to do different things, I want to become a resource for that person. Not only then, but I also want to be a resource for me now, right? And how to take my life to the next level. Don't get me wrong, my life is very good. I'm very happy, right? But there's always some things that I can improve on. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still trying to figure stuff out. But because I've been on this journey for a minute, I feel that I'm at a space, a time, and a place where I have to start sharing, and I got to start giving the information out so other people know that it exists and you can use these tools to change and transform your life. Because now, for your family, by changing your life, you get to change all the people around you. That's powerful, right? That is very powerful. So, for my son Dejan and my daughter Sierra, they get to hear some of the stories that they actually lived, right? Some they live, some they don't remember, but they get to hear from me and hear my thought process or the way that I process things and how I was fed up enough to not want to endure that situation again or that person, right? And I trust, leaned, and relied on God. Now, God does not take away our choice, right? We have freedom of choice. We get to do what we want to do, whether He tells us it's okay or not. If we want to do it, we're going to do it. But that's where whichever muscle you exercise, it gets stronger. So if you focus on inspiring, uplifting, and encouraging people, you get more inspired, uplifting, and encouragement. Right? You can't talk negative and sow negative seeds and expect positive results. It will not happen. They say what you sow, you shall also reap. Right? That's according to the Bible. That's not me. I'm just sharing the information that I've used to change my life. Right? So there's a list of sayings that I've adopted over the years that help guide me in my decision-making process. Like fear and faith cannot reside in the same space. So if I'm in a situation and I'm afraid, then I have to tell myself, fear and faith cannot reside in the same space. So which one are you operating in? Because fear goes with lack, right? Faith is abundance. It's unknown. You're walking into the unknown. And you get to determine how you're going to respond before you get there. So are you going to go in fear or are you going to lead with faith? Only you can make that decision, right? So let's give you some history on Veronica White. I was born and raised in Chicago. My mother was 17. She was a teenage mom. I'm named after my mom. She said when she went to name me, my name was already on my wrist. So this is her first child. She didn't know. She thought the doctors had named me. So she just wrote that on my birth certificate. And it's like, well, they named her. Why they want me to name her? My mama didn't know no better. My dad was 20. I'm both of their first child, and I'm the only child that they've had together, right? My mom went on to have 6 other kids. My dad went on to have 8 other kids, plus or minus, right? But my mom and dad have a very unique relationship and a friendship. And their common bond is me. And because I'm their common bond, whether they get along or not, when it's time to have a conversation on my behalf, they're both present. And they listen and they respond accordingly, right? My mom and dad are so supportive. At different times in my life, but they've both always been there. Whether I wanted them to be or not, my parents have always been there. To lend a helping hand, to give me a words of encouragement, and to just be there as parents, right? What I've learned is your parent don't stop being your parent when you reach a certain age, right? We think, hey, we're grown. We no longer need parents. We don't need the guidance, right? I've learned that over the years, my parents, as a parent now, because my kids are adults, right? I transitioned with them, right? At one point, they solely needed me, right? Every aspect of their life, I needed to have input in. That was my choice, but hey, it happened. As that's when they were kids, right? When they became teenagers, I'm transitioning to more of a coach, and I'm feeding them information and lessons and just sayings to help them become good decision makers, right? Providing them the tools to help them make the decisions they need for themselves. Because I know at the end of the day, they're going to live life according to their terms and not mine. So with that being said, I'm just a coach. And the coach give you the plays, they give you the information, but you're in the field by yourself. No one's there with you. That's similar to life. You're running your plays yourself. You have God, you have your friends, people, advisors, but only thing they can do is feed you the information. You got to apply it in whichever way you see fit, right? So as teenagers, I'm their coaches. When they become adults, my children still need me. They just don't need me in a way that they needed me as a kid. And now I'm not their sole provider, right? Like I was as a coach. Now I'm the parent, and we can develop a friendship and a relationship as the fact that I'm still your mom, but I've lived life. I've had some experiences that you haven't had yet. So let me share some more information that's real life lessons, right? That I either didn't get, didn't know, or chose not to listen to when I was younger, right? I've invested not only in myself, I've invested a lot into my children, right? For them to become positive, productive citizens and however they see fit. But again, I just want them to be positive, productive citizens, right? So as adults, they're accountable for them. The life that they choose to live, it's on them. It's not on me. I prayed and turned them over to God several years ago because the places they're going to go, I can't take them. And the only person that can be there with them to help guide and foster their decision-making skills would be God. So I need to pray to him, and they need to pray to him and use the tools and the techniques that I've instilled in them over the years, right? So let's go back to my parents. Same thing. My parents tried to instill work ethics and different things in me. And at the end of the day, I had to become who I am, right? With some of their things and the people that were in I'm going to say my village, right? Because it took a village for me to become this powerful, successful young lady that you see, right? It was not easy. I got kicked out of school twice in high school. I wouldn't say that I was a bad person or I didn't listen. It was just situations, right? Situations that I was put in, and I did what I needed to do. But the consequence from my action, which was the reaction, I got kicked out of school. It didn't stop me. I went back to school. Life happens. It's not what happened to you. It's how you respond to what happened to you, right? So, high school, I got kicked out. Stayed out I went to night school the first time I went to night school. And then I went back to regular school. My junior year, going into my senior year of high school, I got kicked out. This one was not my fault, but it was still a situation. And I told my parents at that time that I was not going to a Chicago public school. So because they got me kicked out, I wasn't going to school. God allowed my parents to have patience with me. Whew, did they have patience? Because my kids couldn't come tell me that they weren't going to school. It wasn't an option. In my house, it was a dictatorship. In my parents' house, it was a little different. They were okay with that situation and scenario, right? Whether they was or not, they didn't express that to me, right? So I didn't go back to high school for a minute. So I went to go see my Uncle Joe, who he's passed, in the middle of the day, and he wanted to know, hey, why are you not in school? You're supposed to be in school. I'm like, oh, my parents got me kicked out, this, and this. He was like, oh, okay, so what you do all day? I'm like, no, I just hang out. He was like, well, you should come work for me. Now, my Uncle Joe had an auto mechanic shop on 71st in Halsted. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll come work for you. He's like, I'll pick you up in the morning. Mind you, my Uncle Joe worked 6 days a week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Monday through Saturday. The only day he was not open was Sunday, but he was still at the shop on Sundays. So maybe I'm going to say he was open 7 days a week. My uncle did not go to his shop. He enjoyed it, right? He loved it. So now, if he's there 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., he expected me to be there 7 days a week because he was picking me up and he was dropping me off. So I couldn't leave until I got dropped off. Okay, so I did that several months. Well, my Uncle Hassmith was like, you not tired of working up here? I'm like, no, I always get something to eat. People are always bringing stuff up here. So I get what I want from up here. So no, I'm good with it. He was like, this how you want to do in life? Like, I really never thought about it. This is just where I'm doing at the time. So he told me about a school downtown called Double E for second chances. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll research it. He's like, research it, get back to me. So I tell my mom and dad, okay, I'm going to go and see this school Double E. They say it's downtown. And they had a dress code. You had to dress business casual Monday through Thursday. So I said, okay. I went. I enrolled in Double E, right? So I'm a junior. And come to find out, once I enrolled in school, I only needed 4 credits to get my high school diploma. But with the program they had, they don't give you a high school diploma. They only give you the credits, you'll get a graduations, or you could take the GED test. Well, at the time, the GED was becoming popular, but I didn't want a GED. I wanted a diploma. So I talked to one of the counselors, and they was like, well, if you go to Olive Harvey has a night school. And if you have all your credits like you do, then you can get your high school diploma from Olive Harvey Night School. It's okay. So now for 6 months, I had to go to day and night school. So now I couldn't work for my Uncle Joe anymore. I had to tell him I had to go back to school to get my education, right? Graduated 1994 with my high school diploma, and I immediately rolled into Olive Harvey College, right? And I went to college. I had my first child, my son, at 19. And then I had a set of twins when I was 21. I'm going to let that sink in for a second. So I'm 21 years old. I hadn't graduated college, right? I was at a junior college, and now I have 3 kids. Life is challenging, and I'm just trying to figure it out, right? And then before I made 22, my baby daughter was murdered. So now I'm 22 years old, right? With 2 kids, and I've lost a child. And I find it very difficult and hard to move on at this time, right? And I remember making a vow to myself, because my kid's father at the time was a drug dealer. And he actually could have helped me and paid for childcare, right? Back then, childcare existed. I just didn't know about it. So my mom would keep my kids on her off days. All my kids at her house. But for me to work, I needed help, right? And I needed to be able to provide childcare for them. So someone did tell me I can put my son in daycare, right? He was old enough. He's 2 years old. He was old enough to go to daycare. And because of my income, it was subsidized. But my twins, I needed someone to watch them. So the young man that I knew, right, I dated him at one point in time, but we were really good friends. He said, well, I will help you. I'll step up. I can watch them when you're at work. And then when I go to work, you watch them. Like, he was a person that wanted to help me. And I allowed him to help me. And by allowing him to help me, it gave him access to ultimately hurt me, right? So that was a hard lesson, right? So in that moment, I wanted to be able to provide a life where I didn't have to ask another person to help me take care of my kids. I wanted to be able to put them in daycare or school or programs that were safe, where I wouldn't have to worry about losing another child, right? That's a hard lesson for a 21-year-old to have to endure. When I was in school, just trying to make it, right? Trying to figure it out. And life throws you lemons. They threw you, I was thrown for a loop, right? So at that time, I had to refocus my energy and my attention on the things in my life that I could control, right? And allow God to control the things that I can't. Let me repeat that, because I don't want y'all to miss that. In my life, I had to decide what is within my control to change my circumstance and situation. And the things that I can't control, I need to trust, lean, and rely on God to do that for me, right? So I would say the first two that I acquired was prayer, right? And there's different types of prayers. But I'm going to say my second two, which to this day I use so many times throughout the day, is the serenity prayer, right? So the serenity prayer is, God, grant me the strength to change the things that I can change and accept the things that I can't, and the wisdom to know the difference between the two, right? What I can change, what I can't change. And let me focus on the things I can, and the things that I can't. God, I need you to help me with that, because that's your part. I'm going to focus on what I can, and I'm going to do the work. But I need you to do the other stuff. Not knowing that in that moment, my life was changing, right? I was being planted deep down in the dirt. I was already in a dark place. So from there is nowhere to go but up. I ain't saying it's easy, but I'm saying if you put in the work and you put your faith in God, the sky is the limit.